Hey you guys, my name is Kevin Lyman, and 17th year of the Warped Tour. And I just realized the craziest thing is 17 years of a tour and turning 50 next week is I have to have notes. Just for me, I'm able to remember all this stuff, and I'm like, someone grab some notes here so I can tell you what I got to talk about. So, you know, it is our 17th year, and I want to thank you guys on the East Coast. It took us 17 years to actually hold this here, to have such a warm embrace for the Warped Tour, because I remember a little story about the first year I came out here, and I had Snapcase, and I had Shelter, and I had Sick of It All, Bouncing Souls, and bands like that, and I put them on at the wrong time. Like in Jersey and New York, it'd be like, you disrespected us because we're from Flatbush or we're from this part of town. I'm like, dude, I need to put name tags on all of you guys to tell me where you're from because I'm from the West Coast, you know. But I do, in a weird way, thought that, in the long run, Warped Tour did bring the East Coast and the West Coast together. We worked a lot of shows for years, and I do shows with East Coast bands and hardcore bands, H2O, which I was lucky enough to manage for a while, and had some fun with those guys. I think some of them are coming down tonight. But there has been a connection with the Warped Tour, and as the scene grew, I mean, you guys became the hotbed of this music. You got to think about it. Bamboozle, those guys have done a great job with that festival, kind of breaking out of summertime. You know, Thursday, some of those guys are coming down tonight. All the bands seem to come out of this area, so I guess it was natural when bands opened up this new, as they're expanding and growing, they're a big company, but they're taking a big role up in the Northeast, and they open up this great space, the House of Bands, that it's time to come out and give you guys a party tonight, like we've had on the West Coast. So hopefully you're not all bailing right after this and don't have somewhere better to be, and you can hang out and see some of these bands, because tonight's lineup is definitely reflective of where I try to take the tour this year. I got laid up for 2 months after the tour and just sat there and started listening to music again. Stopped listening to agents, stopped listening to managers, and started listening to music and started to try to feel where things were going and booked a tour that I think is reflective and very diverse and very cool. And in my mind, you're going to find gems out there, you know, and some of those gems are playing tonight. Getting a chance coming up first, you're going to see School of Rock. I think one of the things we've done a partnership with School of Rock that's kind of embraced young kids. And a lot of these young kids say the first concert they've ever been to is the Warped Tour. Next band coming up tonight is Lion Eyes, which I was just hanging out with those guys, and they're totally cool. And they said, since we kind of put them on Warped Tour, a lot of bands are taking them under their wings. I just heard they got a date on Bonnaroo, which Warped Tour and Bonnaroo's never know to trade bands that often, so that's kind of cool. You know, we've got Moving Mountains, we've got the Wonder Years, and then some great people, MC Lars with Weird Science playing tonight. So please try to hang out. And the whole lineup this year really thought through, and the way we announced the bands, 5 bands a week, and then some kid scooped us last night with when he scooped all the bands we're supposed to announce at midnight tonight. If you don't know, an 11-year-old, they try to preload the music on YouTube and do everything, our little video presentation, and in a minute and a half, 11 kids got a hold of that. And it's everywhere. So some kid in Fargo scooped all of you and broke the whole tour. So I'm not here. But no, actually, it's great. You know, it's really cool to see how engaged. I think we have engaged the audience, and then Paul at my office and everything has just engaged the crowd. I think it's very engaged, and that's where we came up with this term. We are warped. You know, I get asked, what is punk? I always say, I think punk rock that term should actually be retired almost in some ways, and given to the legends of that music. You know, in some ways, you know, what is punk? I mean, kids are punk if they're still playing music and want to figure out how to make it work. If you look at this year's lineup, I started looking at, there's very few major label bands on Warped Tour this year. It's back to where we were in 1995, when we had Civ, and, you know, Quicksand, and all those kind of bands. This year's Warped Tour is very reflective of where we are then. It hasn't changed in 17 years, it's come full circle.